this is who we are, this is how we can work together. What are your ideas? How do we engage in a more authentic way? So all these things really are part and parcel of how we bring people on the journey. And I know when we started to reinvigorate the laneways of Melbourne, Flinders Lane to Grays back in the early 90s, and even saving Abbotsford Convent, it was about deep engagement, getting people's ideas. What were those small wins that we could do to activate a place? All these things, working with communities or developers or local councils or the state and federal government or not-for-profit groups, are all part and parcel of what I call a more deeper process of participatory democracy, because ultimately what we're seeing globally, Lisa, is a devolving power back to people, back to place. And we're starting to see all these revolutions happening everywhere. So what's exciting about this is we have a very integrated process that takes people on the journey. And we always say there's two principles on that journey to creating place in terms of doing it together, is that the wisdom lies in the community and the wisdom lies in the group. So we all have the answers to create great places, and we facilitate that process through really inspiring engagement processes. And the second principle is it takes many hands to create a place. And we can all participate. Everyone can have a journey. We don't have to wait for government or business or anyone to create great environments. We can start to do that themselves. For thousands of years, that's exactly that model that we use. There wasn't big governments and businesses doing this for us. We did it ourselves as communities and citizens, which is an exciting phase that we're re-entering now.
That's awesome. So when you do something on a bigger level, like I know that you made the bold idea of the Queen Victoria Market, which is a huge icon in Melbourne for a market, but you brought in the night markets, which are now really popular and happen. But I'm sure the process of doing that, as well as, like you said, the invigorating the laneways like De Graves, which is a huge Melbourne tourist icon, and just people in the city just flock there to have coffee on the street. Almost seems like you're in Europe. But you've invigorated these laneways. You've, like you said, changed some stuff to create an atmosphere at the Abbotsford Convent, the Queen Victoria Night Market, and I'm sure there's many other examples that you've done. But I can imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine that you would have come across some sort of roadblocks in doing that. So groups that were hard to engage, and even though you wanted to contribute positive change, it was just really difficult, and there were challenges and roadblocks that you came up against when it did come to working with councils or businesses or developers, etc. So firstly, is that correct? Were there challenges and roadblocks?
I mean, look, sometimes the world can be a roadblock, but we unfortunately the systems around us aren't built for collaboration or cooperation. We have to relearn those skills together and re-inspire. People. We need to move from the fear budget to the hope budget, as I say, and we need to bring our communities on board. So there's all these blocks where, for example, with council, they're very risk averse, and in that culture, it becomes a no culture. And when communities and citizens try to do something, there's always a roadblock. There's regulations and laws and rules. You can't do this, and it kills ideas and kills the human spirit.
So what my question then is on top of that, so validating that that's correct, a lot of the listeners on this show have their own businesses, and so whether it's at a larger level like you're doing, they're all trying to create some sort of change, some on a really small level, some on a bigger level. But when you're running a business, you come across challenges and roadblocks quite often. And so what suggestions or advice or offering could you give that's kept your dream alive, that's kept, what sort of tools have you used to engage in really hard to get groups along the way? So what are some of the lessons you've learned to be resilient and get past some of these challenges and roadblocks?
That's a good question. I think, a couple of key ones for us is not to sweat the small stuff. That's been really important for us, so we don't get caught in the negativity and the things that we could get. So we always keep that large narrative and picture, like why we're here. So it's, it's the Senec sort of, concept of the why, which we didn't know about that 25 years ago when we started our company, but that drives everything that we do. So, our why is that we know, we're here to open the hearts and minds of humanity to a life-nourishing story through placemaking. So that drives every one of our actions. So the other key thing for us is we just keep turning up. No matter what happens, we are persistent. No one knew about placemaking, and we had to sort of create it and make it up in the first decade, and now it's a global movement. So the other thing here for us is keeping what I call a joyful spirit. Of course, it's that glass half full, but looking at what's working. So we take a real strong asset-based approach to our organisation, always looking at what's working. And we do that with clients and the roadblocks, because 90% of the roadblocks are looking at what's not working. When you flip that around and look and then focus our energies at what's working, and then bang, everything changes. We have a little saying, energy flows where attention goes. So when we look at what's working, we follow the energy of the spirit, of the creativity, of the innovation, the collaboration. So that's one of our key mottos. And we really try to not to repeat anything twice, even though nothing's new. We always try to innovate and try to give value add to our clients around, a fresh way of thinking. And we have a copyleft strategy, which is pretty radical for a company. So it's not a copyright. We don't have any copyright on anything. We give away everything. And that's really built our business tenfold over the years, where people can just use our work around the world. And then we get phone calls everywhere from around the world to help.
Well, that's amazing that you said that, because my last guest on the show, not the last guest, the one before that. So a month ago, I was interviewing a guy called George Cow. I don't know if you know him, but he's an authentic marketer, and he has taken exactly, and he was the first I'd heard of it, and now you're the second. He's taken that exact same approach. So every book or ebook or course that he's run for his content, not his one-on-one work he obviously charges for, but all the content work, he just gives it away for free now. And at the beginning of his book, there's actually the copyright thing states, the copyright regulations of this book is that you can use it in any way you like. You don't have to credit me. You don't have to do anything. Just share it, do what you want, take excerpts, have it how you like. And that is that true, authentic belief in your message, because it means that, yes, you're running a business, but you truly, truly believe in what you're doing. So you just want to spread it as wide as possible. So, yeah, it's really great.
So true. I think what underpins that is, we're in the wellness century, and what underpins the wellness century is the gifting economy, and then what underpins the gifting economy on a practical level is, the evolution now of shareable cities and shareable communities, where, a lot of things with the speed of tech now. And we're starting to see, the concept of platform cooperatives. So it's, a platform is like Uber, but if we have a platform cooperative that's owned Uber that's owned by the community, that's the next evolution. And we're going to start to see radical shifts in how we live and work through more these sort of, crowdsourcing and sharing tools, or all these things, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. We don't have to own anything anymore. It's what is of value is our essence and how we can share our essence with others.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it is happening. You're absolutely right. Like there's a local mum from, that I know who's, in Melbourne, and she started a business called Parachute, and I hope to get her on the show actually. And that is exactly that. It started out as like just a car sharing, like you've got, 3 kids that need to be at, 3 different sports, and you don't have that many, you can't be in that many places at the one time, or, you're at work and need your kid picked up, or, and actually doing that carpooling, which her business will grow out of more carpooling to shared babysitting to, exchanges of stuff that used to happen naturally, our parents and their parents, that's what they did. And yet today we seem to have shifted into this mindset of each person is responsible for their own stuff, and if you want help, you've got to pay for it. And it's just, it's caused separation, and it's so wonderful to see people like yourself and that company that I just talked about, Parachute, and other people coming back round to this sort of gifting and share mentality, that we're all in it together, and we are here to help each other, and it's not just about a favour. There's actually benefits that you receive from gifting and giving and helping.
That's right, and I think what will be valued in the future is those higher values of collaboration and sharing and kindness, and I think it'll birth a more enlightened commerce that has a narrative that has in its foundation about nourishing life, nourishing communities, nourishing ourselves, nourishing the earth. And that's a very compelling narrative that young people are yearning for, and I think that'll drive thousands and maybe millions of new small businesses. People still connect to their livelihoods and right livelihood. It'll move from that 1% to a much more generative, egalitarian 99%, the way I'm seeing it. And there's some big mind quakes and hard quakes, I call it, about to happen. If we're prepared and we've got that ecosystem of our communities and colleagues and friends, around authentic relationships and resilience and partnerships and collaborations, that's going to be the resilient fabric when things move to when we have shocks or whatever. We've got community. We'll go back to the concept of community, and we'll go back to the concept of place, which is really exciting from my point of view, because I've been waiting. I've been at it for over 25 years now, and we're really starting to see this as an exciting and inspiring global movement around the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing, and you do see it. Like I don't know. I can't say in all the cities of the world and stuff, but I know locally in Melbourne, you see it. You go into the city, and there's just so much more buzz than there used to be, and their laneways just feel. You just walk through them and you feel alive. And even, the parks are changing, and the open spaces, there just seems to be, every weekend there's a different type of festival or community gathering, and, loads of farmers markets, and it's wonderful, it's so good to be seeing these changes. Yeah. And, even for example, I live in a fairly inner city suburb, but yet it used to be a very Greek neighbourhood, and there's still a lot of older Greek people here. And it's amazing to see that every single day at the park just up the road, all the Greek old men gather on the bench and just chat. And, it really enhances their lives. And then in the morning, you see all the women just walking around the park together, and it's just it's so beautiful to watch. And I just feel that all of that is starting to change, and you know, it's just fantastic the work that you